What is up, guys? It's your boy Grandmaster Cacus, and today we are going to be showcasing the guide for the currently available Grandmaster Nightfall, which is actually the Liminality Strike. This is a brand new strike added in the final shape, and so this is the first time ever it's been available as a Grandmaster. And honestly, this is definitely one of the harder Grandmasters. Not sure if it's the hardest one in the game, beating out some of the Battlegrounds ones, but it is no cakewalk, especially compared to Fallen Saber last week. So we're going to be going over some incredible Nightfall loadouts, one different build for each of the different classes, as well as a bunch of tips for the strike itself to make this week's Grandmaster as fast and easy as possible. And so let's get started. Now, first off, let's go over those recommended loadouts. But the first thing you need to know is the main modifiers that are going to impact your builds. So first of all, we do have both Unstoppable and Barrier Champions. After that, it is a Void threat, and there's a lot of Void shields as well. And then we also have Arc Surge, Void Surge, and Overcharged Machine Guns doing extra damage. Now, for those builds, I was playing a Titan, and we are using the Titan ability spam build. Did a video on that. Check it out. It's linked up above if you want more detail. Going to be going over the different abilities, fragments, and the different armor mods pretty quickly here. Obviously, pause if you want to copy what I'm using. But I ended up using the Consecration version of this a lot last week for farming. But yeah, with this Grandmaster, I think going the ability spam route, going the Grenadier route, being able to engage enemies from a further safer distance is absolutely the play. Now, after that, guys, in terms of the weaponry, first of all, I'm using the Call, obviously a god tier sidearm. This is also going to stun those unstopped champions. And then after that, we have the Graviton Lance. Void, not only to get extra damage, but also this build will do a ton of volatile rounds, and the Graviton, being a pulse rifle, can deal with the barrier champions. It was actually fantastic. Now, for the heavy, I'm actually using the Retrofit Escapade. Because the final boss is going to be a Tormentor, you want to have weapons that can do good precision damage. The original idea was to have a linear fusion rifle, but that's not going to be great for the rest of the strike. A machine gun here, like the Retrofit, obviously with the role of 4th times plus target lock, can actually do a lot of single target damage, good against the Tormentor final boss, but it's also good for the entire rest of the strike as well, guys. Now, moving on to the Hunter, my teammate was actually using the Liars plus Caliban's Prismatic melee build. Again, did a video on that, linked up above if you want more info. Going to be quickly going over what they were using, but this melee build was just a lot more survivable because you go invisible after every single melee kill, and it was great in the tons of parts of this Grandmaster where you have a ton of red bars like everywhere in an area. Now, as for the weaponry, first of all, they were using the Battlescar Kinetic Pulse Rifle. Actually has Shoot to Loot plus Kinetic Tremors, so just a way to deal with those barrier champions. Then the Buried Bloodline can also stun the Unstopped champions, and just a fantastic weapon, can give you Devour if you have the Catalyst. Great overall. And then after that, the Commemoration Machine Gun, again to eventually help deal with the Tormentor boss, but also just for massive ad clearing potential. However, they did admit they wish they used the Retrofit Escapade like me for that better single target damage. Moving on from there, however, for the Warlock, we have the Warlock Speaker Sight Healing build. Again, did a video on that linked right up above, but this was so fantastic. The Warlock was actually using a different build to start with, but yeah, it turns out when you can keep yourself and your entire team alive, it is extremely valuable in a Grandmaster. So moving on to those weapons, first of all, they were actually using the Supremacy Sniper Rifle. Remember, you now have access to Sniper Rifle anti-barrier rounds, and this was phenomenal at, again, dealing with that Tormentor final boss and a bunch of enemies along the way. Having one person with a great sniper, I would highly recommend it. It was a very, very good choice here. Then they were using the No Hesitation. Unfortunately, this can't really deal with any of the featured champions, but with Physic plus Incandescent, it's going to be fantastic at killing ads and keeping you and your teammates alive. Now, after that, they're actually using the Deterministic Chaos because they had a free exotic slot. This actually has built-in anti-barrier rounds. It's going to make enemies volatile, and importantly, it's going to weaken enemies. So when we're all shooting the final boss with machine guns, this can provide our weaken effect, which was very useful. Now, let's move on from there to the tips for the strike itself. First of all, upon first starting, you can actually whip out your Sparrow in this part here, and if you stick to the left corner, you can skip all of these ads and then just, blow open the entranceway here and make your way inside. Now, continuing from there, you're going to eventually make your way to this section here where, as you can see, there's two different routes you can take. There's like a bottom route to the left and then an upper route straight forward. I would highly recommend taking the upper route. Now, importantly, there's going to be a barrier champion on each one of these routes. So if you do take the upper route, you're going to come across one of them, and then as you can see, you can easily shoot down on the other one way easier than going on the bottom route and then shooting up at that other champion. Additionally, there's going to be Shriekers, but if you go the upper route, after you kill the bottom barrier, you can just skip that second Shrieker and just jump up here and continue with the strike. But after that, you're going to end up in this room here, and this room is a bit of a doozy. So there's going to be a ton of ads spawning in like the front half of this area. Now they will, once they spawn, make their way further backwards, but honestly, I would say the best place to hold out is where you see us holding out on the right kind of backside of this area. You have these big like bones here surrounded by rocks that give you good cover. You can back off if you're getting pressured from the front, and it's going to block the incoming damage from the center bottom guys as well. And then from here, you just have to slay out on ads. Remember to be using your Transcendence. Those Transcendent grenades are fantastic at dealing with large amounts of ads. Eventually, however, once you kill a bunch of the enemies here, like all the wizards and so on, then importantly, you're going to get a Lucian Hive that spawns in the very center front of the arena right here. And if you guys can, nuke them. Like, as you can see, I use my Twilight Arsenal. We have our Warlock using their Song of Flame. Like, whatever you can to absolutely nuke this guy down as quickly as possible is going to be awesome, because otherwise he's throwing the shields around and that can one-shot you, and the suspension grenades are brutal. So if you can nuke him right after the spawn, I would highly recommend that. After that, you might have to do a bit of mopping up on some champions, and then you're going to move forward. But not long after, you're going to get to this section here where you have to go to the left and the right, pick up the taken essences, make it out of the rooms where you picked them up, and then plant them in the corresponding Ahamkara skulls. So for the left, it's just a matter of picking it up, and as soon as you pick it up, you need to run as fast as you can down this, American Ninja Warrior gauntlet and eventually make it out. And remember, you actually have to deposit it on that left side skull, like the skull on the same side that you went to get this essence, right? Now, for the right side essence, you need to pick up the essence and shoot all of the different little taken turrets here. That is going to unlock the ability to go up through this like floor here, and then you simply go over and plant it again on the left side Ahamkara skull. Now, continuing from there, bit of a warning as you're traversing through all these kind of mini sections here dealing with ads. When you get to this part here, just be aware of this door. Don't rush out, because there's actually some pretty powerful ads on the outside. There's going to be some Axion darts flying your way from some yellow bar Cabal, as well as an unstopped champ at the bottom. So definitely, stop at the door, kill some ads before jumping through here. But moving on, you're then going to get into this encounter, and here you have to deal with just a ton of ads. Of course, there's also going to be champions and so on, but the important thing is that as you progress through this particular encounter, so as you slay out on more ads, the lava is going to rise. So back here is a great place to hold out, guys. The ads are going to be pretty much all in front of you. You can peek out and throw a grenade or kill someone with a graviton and watch everyone else explode, and then peek back behind cover. However, if you stay here too long, if you keep killing enemies, the lava will rise again. So you're going to see kind of a shaking effect and you're going to hear like a shaking, you really need to pay attention to this audio cue, because then the lava is going to rise above this area where you were holding out. And then after the lava rises, as you can see, there's not really that many great places to hold out. Some of the best places have like the Taken Blight effect on top of them, so you kind of just have to move around to the different rooftops, especially kind of this middle rooftop. But if you are on the rooftops, you need to be aware of the snipers as well as the flying enemies that spawn as well. So it's just kind of a doozy, and we did fail a run because I was going for the res, and like right then at the wrong moment the lava rose and then killed me, and then the res couldn't be achieved and it was over, right? So definitely you may need to hold back on killing ads if you have people dead where the lava is going to rise in order to get them. But after that, guys, you're very quickly going to find yourself in the final boss arena, and man, again, this is a bit of a doozy. So things are going to start out here with the boss actually spawning and then just slowly walking you down. Now, while he's doing that, you have a bunch of ads spawning as well, and you have ad spawn locations to the left and to the right of this like somewhat circular arena. Now, I would recommend dealing with the ads first and then turning your attention to the boss. Once you are fighting the boss, again, you're shooting his shoulders, and then once you get the boss's health down enough, the boss is actually going to disappear, and then you have a bunch of enemies spawn. And then you also have the Taken Essence you need to grab on the left and the right of the arena. Now, included in these enemies that spawned, however, is an Unstopped Champion. I would highly recommend you deal with the ads first before grabbing the Taken Essence. And it's kind of the same mechanics as before. If you go to the right, you're going to have to shoot a bunch of these like Taken turrets before it lets you out. And then to the left, you have to complete another American Ninja Warrior gauntlet and run through as fast as possible. Again, deposit them in the corresponding skulls, and that is going to trigger the boss to come back out, and you can keep damaging him again via the shoulder crits. Now, very importantly, this time when you get his health down that chunk, the boss is going to disappear and become immune, and then different ads are going to spawn in different locations. They're actually all going to spawn near the back half of the arena where you first entered in, where you're probably holding out, to be honest, including a Lucian Hive. As you can see, this Lucian wizard right here. So pop your supers. You can see we just went the nuke route, but definitely you may want to, in anticipation for this, actually move to the front half of the arena so that these enemies aren't spawning right on top of you, right? But definitely just be aware of that. It's not the same as the last time enemies spawned. In fact, speaking of, not only is there going to be that Lucian Wizard, there's also going to be a Subjugator like mini boss spawn here too. So keep that in mind when you kill this guy. There's going to be one more Taken Essence that spawns. You need to pick it up and deposit it in the third and final skull, and then after that, then the boss is going to appear again. However, the boss is going to be different. So no longer is he walking around slowly and then kind of shooting those void blasts at you from his scythe. Instead, now he is going to be, as you can see, sprinting at you. So he's going to have the shoulders broken, and it's going to be like the second phase Tormentor. So he's just going to be absolutely running around. So the key to this second half of the boss fight is mobility, moving around the map. Now, unfortunately, you're still going to have ads spawning in those kind of left and right locations, and then near the back of the arena, a bunch of Shadow Thralls are going to spawn, but they're not really too big of a deal. It's the Yellow Bar Knights and a bunch of the shielded acolytes that are going to pressure you, so you just need to try to be on top of them as soon as they spawn. Try to throw a grenade there, something to kill them. Again, you don't want to stay in one spot. You need to be moving around the map to avoid the boss, right? And this is where you and your teammates need to be communicating and taking turns popping super, popping transcendence, right? Like a transcendent grenade in one of those ad spawns is so useful. You want to make sure that not all three of you are popping your transcendence at once, for example, and then you have no grenades and you have no resources to deal with those ads while the boss is chasing you. So you kind of want to take turns. All right, I'm going to use Song of Flame, deal with this new ad spawn, then we can shoot the boss. Another ad spawn is here. Okay, I'm going to use my Twilight Arsenal to deal with this ad spawn, and so on. Honestly, the ads are the main issue here. Like, the boss is somewhat easily avoidable, so you can just move around the map, move around the rocky pillars, and pretty easily avoid that guy. It's just you're going to be shot at by ads as you're trying to do that, and that is your main concern, if I'm being honest. But eventually, guys, if you're on top of those ads, you're going to wear this boss down and eventually kill him, and then you will complete this Grandmaster Nightfall and get your rewards. Guys, that is going to be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.